welcome to the DNA Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Pugh, and joining with me tonight is my amazing, my wonderful, my impeccable, my not asshole co-host. See how I changed it up there? So you decided to change it up different?
Yeah, wait 5 minutes.
David Perry. We're going to be talking about the Book of Boba. I feel like we're going to have an interesting conversation about it. I don't want to get into it just quite yet because I want us to have that fun what have you been up to conversation, and I feel like if we go straight into Book of Boba right now, there might be I don't want to be told I'm wrong. I don't deal with criticism in a positive manner. So you telling me I'm wrong, I'm gonna get super self-conscious over here.
There are a lot of fair criticisms of the Book of Boba Fett.
There is. So very briefly, I will say this: it's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's not the best. I will give this series I'll give him a 6 out of 10. Like if I'm being honest,
that's pretty generous.
Is more generous than you? All right. Well, before we get into that, what have you been up to, good sir?
Well, I don't know if are you watching the Legend of Vox Machina?
I am. I was going to mention that. Oh my God. Yes. So I'm not a Critical Role fan though. Right. I don't listen. Let me clarify. I think what they do is amazing. I think what they've done for nerd culture, especially Dungeons and Dragon culture, is mind-boggling awesome. Props to them. As I burp there, excuse me. I think they do amazing things. I'm happy for them, truly from the bottom of my heart. And actually, Eldritch Foundry, one of our sponsors, actually did miniatures for one of their specials. So I'm so stoked that I get to see friends collaborate with these people. Love Vox Machina. Think it's awesome. Totally wish I read the warnings about the show being mature before I started watching it. I was laying in bed with my wife. We turn on the TV and everything, and I'm starting to watch it. And I'm like,
and it starts with a bang.
Oh, no pun intended.
Yep.
and it's going, and I'm like, they're in the tavern, they're doing their thing, and then the scene I'm talking about. Yes. It opens up, and there is a cartoon pair of boobs.
Yep.
And my wife I got her the best Christmas present. I got her a Nintendo Switch with Animal Crossing, and she's been obsessed with it. So this is the first year I've won Christmas.
Right.
So she's looking up from her Nintendo Switch, and she goes, "What are you watching?" And I have no good answer at this point.
It's like all the parents who took their kids to see heavy metal in the 80s.
Oh,
because it was a cartoon.
Oh, that's awesome. I never even thought about that.
Because it was a cartoon and it was PG.
Yeah.
It was before PG-13 too.
And, I mean, there is literally the silhouette of this guy's junk, and the girl grabs him and just throws. I'm like,
right.
Do you like it?
Yes, I do. It's like you. Critical Role has done a lot for D&D. It's also a fair criticism of Critical Role is that it has set an unrealistic expectation for players who are new to D&D or who are new to a gaming group, because the DM Matt Mercer is just this legendary voice actor.
They all are. They're
all professional voice actors, and so everything that they're doing can't be replicated for most people. But at the same time, what I really enjoy about Legend of Vox Machina is that it is probably the first, what I would consider to be mainstream accessible Dungeons and Dragon content that's not crap. Because I
absolutely agree.
Back in the late 90s, I think it was, there was that Dungeons and Dragons movie with Jeremy Irons and Thora Birch in it. I don't know if you ever saw it.
It had Martin Wayne was in it.
Marlon Wayans.
Or Marlon Wayans,
yes. Yeah. And it was bad. And there were people who had grown up on D&D, me, who were looking forward to it, and then it just was awful. And there were some direct to video sequels that were equally bad. And then there was the Dragonlance cartoon that was based on Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and that had legitimate voice acting talent. Lucy Lawless was one of the characters, and Kiefer Sutherland was in it, and it was just done in a way that was just awful. Although I kind of enjoyed it. And then in the 80s there was the D&D cartoon that was on TV for 3 seasons, something like that. That was very exciting, but this, I think, it's very enjoyable, but it is very adult. And so if you have kids, you do not want kids watching this, because they're going to get an education that you're not ready for them to have.
There's literally a giant purple floating middle finger.
Yeah. Well, that's the least bad of all the things that happen in the
most tame part.
Right. But I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing how they have brought D&D into a cartoon. Mm-hmm. And it was crowdsourced. The funding for the project was crowdsourced, and they raised the money very quickly, just because people love Critical Role. And there's a Critical Role, the Tal'Dorei campaign setting that is Matt Mercer's personal homebrew.
They have something else coming out. They have 2 books coming out this year too.
Right. I
know one's up for pre-order right now.
And there right now there are a lot of people who play Dungeons and Dragons who are who are out of the closet, so to speak, whether it's Vin Diesel or Joe Manganiello or Stephen Colbert or other Deborah Ann Wall, other folks who are bringing D&D into what I think they are delivering it in a way that is accessible and that it's cool. It's not just a bunch of geeks sitting around yelling at plastic dice for coming up with the wrong number.
But that does happen.
That's
a lot.
That's what Dungeons and Dragons is. I mean, really.
You know what not to cut you off, but one thing I really do like about this animation is the voice talents that they're bringing to it. It's not just the Critical Role people. I don't know if you've actually paused and looked at see who's in it. David Tennant's in it. Felicia Day. Oh my God, I'm gonna screw up his name. He played one of the hobbits. He played Merry or Pippin. I can't remember. He was in Lost.
Dominic Monaghan.
Yes. Yes. It's bringing these people who have associations with other nerd culture. Felicia Day is known for Supernatural. What's the she had
Guild.
The Guild. That's what I was trying to think of. The Guild. She has something on Netflix where she talks to people about nerdy stuff. Right. Then David Tennant is Doctor Who.
Right.
And then you have a Hobbit, a Hobbitits on the show, and it's bringing and combining all these talents into this as well. Sorry to cut you off, but I got real excited about that one.
No, but it is good, but people also need to remember that when you watch, whether you're watching the cartoon or whether you're listening to Critical Role, I mean, these are people who are professionals.
Yeah.
It's not just a bunch of guys, because that's, for most of us, that's our experience. That's our experience with role-playing games, is a bunch of guys sitting around a dining room table or in a basement or somewhere just having a good time.
Yeah.
And like, I don't do voices, but that's
attempt to, but they always end up going Scottish, like terrible Scottish.
Whatever. But again, these are professional, and they are putting out a product which most people cannot replicate. It was kind of that way on there was that episode of The Big Bang Theory where Howard was the dungeon master and he was doing all these impressions and everybody's having a good time, and which is fine. Now, some people do that. I know some dungeon masters who can get away with that, but for the most part, most of us can't. But it's still a good time. It's just fabulous. Again, as long as you understand that it is a hard R setting.
There is a thing called the Mercer effect, which is like, this high bar has been set that is highly unrealistic, and you just have to accept, like, look, if you go in to have a good time, jokes are going to be told, stupid things are going to happen, you're going to make dumb decisions when you roll your dice, you're going to yell at the plastic, and today it's cursed. Actually, it's funny, talk about the cursing of dice. one of my players for Monsters and Mailmen, his brother is a Catholic priest, and he rolls so bad during games, he legitimately bought new dice, had his brother bless them. I kid you not. I cried laughing when he told me this. And it's my Boston guy. It's my Boston guy. And he's like, yo, I had my brother bless these dice. He's a Catholic priest. What does he roll? A nat 1. He's like,
yeah.
He just started just swirling off. He's like, I think I should have had my sister bless the dice. She's agnostic.
Well, don't buy dice that have things in them or that
Oh,
are marbled.
No,
that messes up the balance. Yeah, I get it. But I think it's a good fun show.
It is a great show. I'm enjoying it. Now I don't watch it around my wife, just in case, because I don't need that kind of judgment looks anymore. Like, legitimately, she never pays attention to anything I watch. I've had like everything from, first off, I'm a grown adult and I freaking love Phineas and Ferb. Doofenshmirtz is like the most relatable character as an adult. Have you ever watched it?
No.
Watch it. I'm telling you,
right. But
Schmertz is like super relatable.
Right, but none of those shows opened with a gnome having sex with an elf.
None. And then him standing there, and you just see the shadow silhouette of a scrote. Yeah. I'm just like, and she just looks at me and she goes, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, "Porn." Yeah, it's at this point. I mean, I can't say anything else. I can't say I'm watching cartoons.
Why can't you watch porn like a normal person?
Right. I need gnomes and I need tieflings. That's what I need these days. On a non-porn related note, did you see the trailer for the new Jurassic Park movie or Jurassic World?
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm trying to restrain my excitement because Jurassic Park is what I grew up with. I will say that is my first true fandom was Jurassic Park dinosaurs, as a kid, but I stalker grew up with it forever.
Right.
And previous history for any movie that has a trilogy, it's never been good for the third movie. There's been very far and few that have been acceptable third movies in series.
That's right.
And Jurassic Park's third movie was actually very much terrible. And while this is a continuation of the Jurassic Park saga, technically it's movie 6. It's Jurassic Worlds 1, 2, and 3, and number 2 was not that great. If anything, it left me emotionally devastated when I saw Brachiosaurus dying on Isla Nublar.
Well, that's kind of the point, though.
But did they have to show it for like 60 damn seconds? Like, sure. You saw it, and I'm like,
yeah.
And then they're looking away, and then it showed again.
Poisonous volcanic ash kills it. Yes.
Oh my gosh, It was horrible. But I am excited for that. And I was going to mention Vox Machina, so I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Dave about what I've been watching.
Now, are you one of those trailer? Are you breaking down the trailer like the Zapruder film, or did you just watch it and enjoy it?
So I did watch it to enjoy it. I also watch it to see what dinosaurs I can find out or that are in it. Like there's either I don't think there are 3 different versions of Velociraptor. I think it's a Deinonychus. I think it's technically Utah Raptor and then Velociraptor. I know there's a I can't believe I screwed that up. Parasaurolophus. I think there's a Therizinosaurus in it. There's the Mosasaurus, Quetzalcoatlus, and a Pteranodon. And I know 3 of those are reptiles, not dinosaurs. Yes, I am a little bit of a paleo buff. Right. And so I get excited. I'm like, okay, which one? Oh, and a Gigantosaurus at the end. Which I'm like, oh, I can't wait to. So I look for all the dinosaurs.
Right.
That's what I get excited about. I will say this is one of those situations too, where watching a show fills in. So like how the Clone Wars and what was the one after that Star Wars Rebels. Yes. Do like little fillers and stuff that you can see in the movies. This is another one of those situations with Camp Cretaceous, which I thought was just a kids knockoff show.
Okay.
They did a lot of things that are setting it up too. And I was like, interesting. So yes, I am very much excited about it. I very much am going to go see that in theaters. That's going to be
Mhm.
another one that pulls me in.
Okay.
So yes, I very much stoked about that.
Now,
Uh,
what do you think about the return of Dr. Malcolm, Ellie, and Dr. Grant?
I feel like if they're going to make this as the final Jurassic movie, it would almost be an insult if they couldn't have gotten them in the character there. Um, Pretty much everybody else that is either actually physically has passed away, or is dead in the storyline. I would like to see also if it's possible that they could get Tim and Alex
Right.
in it as well. But it was a little nostalgic. I also looked and I was like, wow, Sam Neill is he's aged a little bit. But then I realized Jurassic Park came out in 1993, so this movie's like
It's been
30
30
something
years.
years old.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that hit me right in the childhood.
Yeah. Well, because uh, Tim, the actor who played Tim,
He's like 48
well,
now,
I don't know. If I
44.
don't know if he's that old, but he was in the HBO miniseries The Pacific. He was Eugene Sledge
That's right, he
in the
was. Yes,
Pacific,
yeah.
and Lex. She has, my understanding, she retired from acting and has become a painter or something like
Yeah,
that. But I, I would think that they could get them to appear, even if it's just
a cameo.
for a single scene, or as much as Jeff Goldblum was in the last Jurassic Park movie, just appearing in front of some panel in front of Congress, because that was all he was in the last one, right?
Yeah,
Um, I mean, but you're right. It would be nice to see if they could get them, if they
it's
could bring the band back together.
it's here's the thing. I look at it like this, the way I look at episode 7 of Star Wars. Um, it was very exciting to see them in there. Is it quite necessary? No. I would like it, but I also don't want it to take away from the movie too. While this seems like them, Sam Neill's character Ellie and Alan Grant are going to have somewhat of a significant role. Maybe Dr. Malcolm might too. He might just be doing another panel, like going up giving a
Right.
lecture. I'm curious to see what they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I have theories. I have mostly based on the Camp Cretaceous show.
Okay.
So but we shall see, and we will definitely be doing an episode on that. Yeah. Have you been up to anything else? I mean, I know I'm going to get in trouble, but I bought I bought that Lego set. I did. There is a limited edition. Ladies, if you guys haven't heard about it, and it may not even be available once this episode airs, for pre-ordering the Jurassic Park scene where the T-Rex is standing on one of the Jeeps and from the original Jurassic Park. And I had that FOMO moment. And I was like, it's the worst part. It was my neighbor sent me the picture of it. And I wouldn't have known about it. I'm not
Right.
a Lego person.
Right.
And I had that. He sent me this. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
are you getting it? And I'm like, well, I am now. No, I wasn't before, but damn it. And so I bought it. And then I said, yeah, I did it. And he goes, oh crap. Now I'm going to have to. And I almost wanted to snap on him. I'm like, I'm going to go over there when I get home and I'm going to murder you because you made me have a FOMO and you're not even contemplating getting it. You were just showing it off. And he's like, well, I don't collect Legos and I just don't have room for it. And I'm like, nobody's ever said that before in their entire life. No, you dare use that as an excuse. And I said, first off, even if you don't take it out of the box, know that set's going to be retired within 2 to 3 years. So you have a collectible item. Second, it's exclusive to Target, so it's already limited. So I'm like, I gave him a return FOMO, and I think he's gonna get up getting it too.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it, and I will display this one. I just don't know where yet, but that's another day, another worry.
Build more
Um,
shelves.
exactly. I do need to do a ton down in the basement because it definitely looks like it's a, it puts the lotion on the skin or it's going to get the hose again kind of situation. It's just like all junky and just decrepit. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. I mean, I'm doing D&D tomorrow, or
Okay.
the day of this recording. So we're doing Icewind Dale. I had to put them on a pause on Strahd because did I tell you that they burnt down a quarter of the city?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, they did that. So they're playing a different campaign to kind of let other things cool down in theirs. Yeah, it's not going well for them. um Other than that, yeah, I've been pretty chillaxed. We finished Book of Boba.
Right.
Should we go ahead and get right into our subject of the night?
Okay.
Book
Yeah,
of
let's go.
Boba. All right. So Book of Boba wrapped up. And so before we start, this is your minute of warning. All right, we are going over spoilers.
Well, by the time this post, it would have been out.
Well, yeah, we're
several
gonna post
days.
this on Wednesday, so
So it'll be
there
out for a
is,
week.
yeah. So you've got time to see it. Yet I still find people that will not listen to these episodes. So like, oh, I haven't watched it yet. Really, whatever. Overall, what did you think of Book of Boba?
It was okay. I didn't like that it halfway through it made Boba Fett a side quest. And I think it's filling that role that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are serializing Star Wars in the way that it should have been, and in the same way that the MCU is acting. That is that, I've talked about in the past that Dave Filoni, he writes for the long game, and I feel like he's interweaving stories in a way that when you look from the very high level view, you see how everything fits together. And what happens then is at some point you don't always understand when you're watching a show what the payoff is going to be, because it might not be in that show.
Okay.
But to me, when it was I was kind of disappointed in the show in that it became a bait and switch.
Because the episodes of Mando.
Right. Well, if you're gonna call the show The Book of Boba Fett, that's fine, and I'm all for it. And one of the things as Star Wars fans is that people have been clamoring for decades is they wanted to know more about Boba Fett without having to do a deep dive into the EU, because it's there in the EU, it's there in the Legends canon and all that other stuff. You can read all about Boba Fett, how he got out of the Sarlacc and what he went up to, and his longstanding rivalry with Han Solo, blah, 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 his daughter, in the future, and so on. That's fine. But most people aren't going to do that because, again, why would you read 30 books to catch up on one character? Sure. Because that's the way the EU is structured.
Sure.
And so what they delivered, they explain how he gets out of the Sarlacc, which is fine.
It was good. I thought that was great.
They have the whole Dances with Bantha's storyline where he's making friends with the Tusken Raiders, which is fine.
Yeah.
That explains why he shows up in The Mandalorian with a gaffy stick, looking for his armor.
And why he's wearing the attire he's wearing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm 100% okay with that. But then what the show never really explains is, why is Boba Fett settling in to be a crime lord? And I don't think the explanation that they gave was really very good. It seemed out of character.
Did it seem like the same? Did you feel cheated the same way when you heard Qui-Gon talking about midichlorians?
Not really. I mean, the midichlorians thing doesn't really bother me.
Okay. I felt like even though I kind of tongue in cheek made a joke saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. Maybe he's just old and wants to retire. And they said something on that lines. I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear.
No,
I did.
No, so because if he wants to get out of bounty hunting, that's fine. There, and he when Fennec Shan says, you know, we're short on muscle, and he's like, oh, I have credits out the wazoo. Money is not a problem. If money's not a problem, why are you doing this? Why does he want to sit? Why does he want to take over Tatooine? Why does he want to become a ruler of a little backwater planet? And that to me was never fully explained, because Jabba had his hands in all of these things, right? Because that's what he did. Jabba, that's how the mafia works, right?
Yeah, just a little bit,
right? That's how because that's what it is. The Hutts are a mafia. Yeah. And Jabba's territory was Tatooine, and the twins, the two Hutts that show up, they were going to move in on the territory, but they realized the Pikes were trying to get there as well. And and the Pikes were introduced in the Solo movie.
Were they?
Yeah. They were the people on Corellia.
Oh my God, you're absolutely, dude. It's been that long since I saw Solo once, and I never watched it again.
But Jabba, Boba Fett has always been, and Fennec Shand they both fall into that model, the honor among thieves, that they both follow a code, and they're also historically cold-blooded killers. And so it seemed like Boba had gone soft. Maybe he does. Again, that's not necessarily a critique, but it was never fully explained to me why he would give up or why he would go back to the life of, why he would want to take over for Jabba the Hutt. If he just wants to retire, if he doesn't want to be in the bounty hunting business, go find some space station somewhere that's full of strippers and blow and live out your retirement. Go get your shit back from Bib Fortuna and then just retire.
Yeah.
And nobody would have nobody would have said that was a bad thing. Of course, then they don't have a show. And then at the end, at the point that Fennec Shand pays off her debt to Boba for saving her life, she chooses to stick around. But she is also she's in it for the money. I half expected her, at the end of the show, when she goes to kill the leader of the Pikes, I have expected her to cut a deal.
That would have been really good.
And then right off into the sunset, because they were setting up at the end of Solo. At the end of Solo, you see Darth Maul and Kira, and Darth Maul is a leader of Crimson Dawn. And so, that would have been another story hook to go, and then as they're walking down the street, at the end, Boba and Fennec Shand says, we're not really cut out for this, or whatever he said to her. Well, then what the hell were you doing for the last 7 episodes? So go ahead. I felt like just wanting to adopt this life of crime, or to get out of doing the dirty work in the life of crime, but then get into actual crime. That just seemed wildly out of character.
I think I've found a way to describe how I feel like this went, and it's not to bash Disney, it's not to bash Star Wars, not to bash anybody, but it feels like the show was Disney-fied. What I mean by Disney-fied, it was given a happy ending. It was very happy-go-lucky. It was the good guys win, and they're literally smiling and nodding, and he's eating fruit with and our Wookiee friend, who should not have lived, based on how many people were on him, just tearing him apart,
and how many times he got shot,
should not have lived at all. And then he's at the end taking a bite, does the Wookiee call. I'm like, happy ending? No, this should not have been a happy ending.
Yeah, he used his action surge to use second wind and recover some hit points.
I'm calling shenanigans on so many levels. And our poor oh my God, I can't think of the race right now. My mind is blanking over there. The pig people,
the Gamorreans.
Yes, those poor bastards got like pushed over the ledge.
I'm
like, come on. Like there were so many moments. It did. It felt very Disney-fied, like that cheesy 90s like GI Joe ending where the good guys win and all are like cheersing and everything. I liked the show. I liked the beginning more because of its telling how, it's going the back and forth. While I did not like the forward present moment, I got it and was like, okay, I'm in the long run. I need to see where this goes.
Right.
I don't know if this is true, but I saw some stuff about it where he's living with the Tusken Raiders for 5 years.
Right.
I never knew that. I never got that. Like, I knew it was a longer time, but that was never clear at all
Right.
that was this show takes place over
Right. Yes.
5 to 6 years. These 8 episodes, and which is mind-boggling.
Right.
I also, while I did enjoy the Mandalorian episodes, I feel like it's a slap in the face for Book of Boba. While I get it, where it's trying to fill in a little bit, saying, "Hey, where's Manda? Where's Jen during this time, and why is Grogu all of a sudden showing up at the end?"
Right.
It felt cheap. I also feel like that we didn't get the real Book of Boba that they were planning.
Yeah, well, right. That's the bait and switch I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because, and there were also people who were Star Wars fans, in air quotes, that they were just crapping on the first 4 episodes about how it was horrible, and this isn't the Boba Fett that I know, blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, when Bryce Dallas Howard directs the first episode where the one that Boba Fett isn't in, where it's Din Djarin and he goes to visit the armor and Paz Vizsla and all that other stuff. They're Star Wars is back and this is the best episode. Blah blah. Yet that to me was the bait and switch of the show. Now I also understand, and I talked about this a second ago with the serialization of the Star Wars products, that they had to set that up. They're setting up. That's the setup for Mandalorian season 3.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then they have that, because now they don't have to devote any episodes to why Grogu and Din Djarin are back together. Now he's just there. And if you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett episodes 5 and 6, you're lost.
True.
So that's I talk about the Marvel roadmap. Now there's a Star Wars roadmap. This is it. And it's how are some of these other shows going to plug in? The Obi-Wan, I don't know if you saw this, but the Obi-Wan show was announced. It's going to be 6 episodes and it's going to start in May, and it's going to run May through June. Obi-Wan is going to take place between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, somewhere in that timeline. And Hayden Christensen's back too. So Darth Vader is going to show up at some point. Now, how that goes out, we don't know. And then there's the Cassian Andor series, which is also done shooting. Whenever they get around to that's going to appear sometime, and that's also in that same period, right? Because Cassian Andor, spoiler alert, he dies in Rogue One, so that it has to take place before then. So the death of Cassian Andor and the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi are within a very short amount of time. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi dies in episode 4.
Spoiler.
Yeah. So that's how they're tying all of this together. I mean, that's kind of the message here, is that all of these projects that are going on, there are feelers out, and they're going to tie together somehow. And whether it also ties into some of the cartoons or some of the other content, now it was great to see a character like the Wookiee Black Karanstan, who was in the comics, and one of his partners in the comics is Dr. Aphra, who worked with Vader. And so is she gonna pop up somewhere? She's not canonically dead.
We also saw BD1 in the Droid Depot area.
Well, we don't know. I don't know. Was it BD1 or was it just another BD?
So I am almost 100% convinced it's BD1, because after whatever that big critter that was that attacked him, he has a limp in his right foot.
Okay.
Now in the video game, when you first meet BD1, he has that exact same limp.
Okay.
Now, could it be a coincidence? Absolutely, 100%. At minimum, they've made that droid full-blown canon.
Right.
I which is, whatever, it's one more droid. However, it just seems there's no coincidences,
Right.
especially when it comes to Filoniverse. Like, there's never a coincidence.
Right, but then there's always the issue of is it an homage, or is it something that they're doing on purpose?
Here's the other thing I would say is the way that game was done. Everybody is live action CG or is CGI'd off of how they really look, so it's not difficult to bring the gentleman in who played Cal to play himself.
Right,
and it's like it wouldn't be that difficult.
Well, but that they still would, the show would have to explain his presence. It's the Chekhov's pistol thing.
You're right.
That they would have to introduce him, and so far they have not done that. Right now, the only Jedi that we know is Luke Skywalker.
It's true.
And Leia's off somewhere. I don't know if she's abandoned her training or if she's yet to start. But they could do that. So in that sense, I felt like the show was a little bit of a bait and switch. I liked some of the things that they did. I liked the way they brought some characters in. As I've talked about before, I can suspend disbelief as long as the universe acts consistently. And it seemed like the motivations that Boba Fett expressed didn't fit his character as a bounty hunter.
Agree 100%.
Now he said so little, he did so little actually on screen, that maybe that was his dream. Maybe his dream was to retire to some little planet and run the planet with all of his retirement. I don't know that. It just seems like the explanation was very thin, because what he tells Fennec Shand is that he wants to reform bounty hunting, and he doesn't want bounty hunters just their lives to be thrown away. Well, rather than become a crime lord, the way you do that is strengthen the bounty hunters guild and and maybe he runs into Grief Karga or somebody like that and reforms, gets a bounty hunters union so that they have they have benefits and all that.
They'll get the Teamsters to run it.
Yeah, and then instead of having actual bounty hunters, you get guys like Hydra Bob who are just there for the dental plan.
Here's the one thing I'm because I do have things I really do like. I loved Cad Bane. I loved how they depicted him. Yes. I thought it was appropriate that he did die. I mean, he's freaking old. Let's be realistic. Like, I think his species only lives to be like 60 years old, something stupid low number like that. And he's got to be a lot older. He's got to be
at least 70.
Yes. He's way past his due.
Right. But in a profession where people don't live long.
Yes. I loved him. I love seeing a Rancor. I love Rancors. I think they're great. Right. I liked all the little nods, like the Naboo fighter. I loved the BD1 droid. There's a lot of things I did love about this show.
Right. Well, and another thing that I enjoyed watching was watching Dave Filoni just write all these scenes paying tribute to King Kong and paying tribute
to my God, right?
The Bad and the Ugly.
Yes.
And Rio Bravo and all of that. That was fabulous to watch that happen. Now, at the same time, as Chekhov's Rancor is climbing the tower, you're kind of like, okay, is that really necessary?
It looked a little cheesy though. Like here's what I was going to get to next is my beefs is the last episode felt even the scene in the blown up casino. By the way, they totally killed off a very interesting character. I loved that Twi'lek, the who ran the casino. She could have been she was an amazing character. I wanted to see more of her and see what could have happened with her. She definitely had character. I felt like, and this could be because of the pandemic, and that's what I was trying to get to, is the way this, when I say I don't feel like we got the true Book of Boba, it's because I feel like the pandemic inhibited a lot of stuff that kept us from getting, because of, you know, all the restrictions that had come with filming during pandemics, socialization, you know, bubbles and all that. It's just that last episode really emphasized that for me in that scene, because it didn't seem like they were all actually in the same room, and they were just behind they just had green screens all around them.
Well, that's the marvelization of a lot of the Disney Plus products, is that there's always that god awful CGI third act, you know, whether it's in, you know, Shang-Chi.
They didn't do it in Boba, or not Boba, Mando. They had the new technology screens that they were doing.
Right, but it was also a smaller scale. They weren't blowing up a city. You know,
but just that scene itself. The scene itself.
Well, so my issue with one of my issues with the third episode is, or the last episode. Okay, so they're getting the rear ends handed to them, and Boba Fett says, "I'm gonna go get help," and then he flies off. You know, and that's setting up that classic, you know, hunker down in a fort in a Western setup, right? They've got their backs to the blown up casino. There's the speeder that they're all huddled behind. Which, why you have a land speeder with a turret on it? Why are you not driving around shooting up all the bad guys? Why are you sitting there? Tactically, a lot of things do not make sense in episode 7. Okay, but like I said, they're advancing the story. I get that. So Boba flies off. Now, Boba has 2 things at his disposal that he can use to bail his friends out. One is Chekhov's Rancor, right? Because you don't have Danny Trejo show up with the Rancor to not use the Rancor, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You knew that was coming in.
Right. So you knew they had to use that. But then Boba Fett has an assault gunship, which he used to blow up the speeder bike gang. Now,
and the Sarlacc.
So if you have your choice of two methods of destruction, one being a giant beast that you somehow learn to ride off screen while Din Djarin was going to pick up, you know, going to meet up with the armorer and then pick up Baby Yoda, that you really can't control, and the only thing you can do is grab things and eat them. Or you have an assault gunship that you can use to lay waste to all of those people. It has missiles, it has guns, it has those seismic bombs.
You're right.
It's got everything. Why would you go for the Rancor other than it's Chekhov's Rancor and you have to use it? So again, I understand that they have written this story a certain way, and that you have to pay off the Rancor, right? Because and seeing the Rancor just run around and just grab people and rip them in half and eat the guys and all that other stuff, that was fabulous. I mean, you know.
2 theories. I have 2 theories. Well, 3 technically. One is they couldn't get Danny Trejo, or there was an issue with because of, you know, pandemic reasons, and he was originally going to ride it in, which I don't really truly believe that.
Right.
2, utilizing Slave One would have caused too much damage to keep Mos Espa the way it is.
The Rancor laid waste to the
I know. Again, I'm not giving strong theories. I'm just saying.
Right.
And the third, which is the most likely, is, you know, continuing the story, you know.
Well, you know, and then the other thing, okay, so that they make a decision to hole up and wait for the Pikes to come get them.
Yeah.
Fennec Shand is not a dummy. Boba Fett theoretically is not a dummy. Din Djarin is theoretically not a dummy. Why would you sit back and wait for them to come to you? And
aren't they bounty hunters and they have great technology, like they're great tactics?
Apparently not. And even if you're not going to use Slave One or the fire spray, if you know, because Disney's not using Slave One anymore, even though it has nothing to do with what people think. Anyway, so they, in the opening scene, when they come out to fight the Pikes, Boba Fett and Din Djarin are flying around on their jetpacks just blasting people. Why have you stopped flying around with your jetpacks blasting people? Now you only have a finite amount of fuel in a jetpack, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine, whatever. Din Djarin has a starfighter. There is no aerial support. The Pikes don't bring aerial support. This is a bad tactical decision. Why is Din Djarin not flying around running combat air patrol?
They also have an X-wing too.
No, the X-wing.
Oh, the X-wing. Yeah, R2 did leave. He did leave.
Didn't know, and they didn't know about the X-wing.
That's true.
They didn't know about the X-wing. The X-wing shows up just on its own. And
can we talk about that scene for a second too, where she shows up in the little like trolley, and like, how did you not hear the blasting and explosion?
Yeah.
And you thought, no, this is totally a safe idea to just
come
gel.
I'm gonna take a toddler into a war zone.
Like, again, plot continuation, I get it,
right?
But like, I'm sitting here going, time out.
Right.
You didn't think this was a bad decision?
Yeah. No. And then in the middle of the fight, she tells the Twi'lek guy, "Hey, nice tails."
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You know, we know she'll date as a Jawa. Now she's apparently not.
She has very low standards.
Anyway, hey, or maybe she likes what she likes. Again, I'm not going to kink shame anybody.
Maybe it's that whole Vox Machina gnome situation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's she's the horny bard.
There it is.
The horny bard trope. You know, but it just seemed like there were a series of what I would consider to be bad tactical choices, very similar to the bad tactical choices in the Lord of the Rings. But whatever. I understand it's for the story and it's for how for it advancing, but that it seemed like when they wrapped up the Book of Boba Fett, because it seems to me, right? So the mid-credit scene, or the mid-credit scene at the end, is someone's in the back to tank, right? And the person in the back to tank is Cobb Vanth. Okay. And the person about to go to work on Cobb Vanth is the doctor, the cyber doctor, the fixer who repaired Fennec Shand after
moped mafia.
Yeah. But he fixed up Fennec Shand, you know, and she was shot in the gut.
She was, yeah. So,
you know, and Cobb Vanth was just shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, I which was shocked when he's like, I killed him, and I'm like, and there or even what's the guy's name that was this bartender was like, oh, they killed the sheriff, and I'm like, really? He got glanced in the arm. Deputy definitely got wrecked.
Right. So, you know, they're setting up. My theory is they're setting up Cobb Vanth to take over Mos Espa, because they've established him as a good person. He wants to get rid of the spice trade and da 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 da. They're setting him to take over, and so then Boba Fett and Fennec Shand can show up sometime as Deus Ex Mando in The Mandalorian, or however they're going to come in to save the day or to cash in a favor somewhere down the road, so that they're not then bound to Tatooine.
They shouldn't have, like, I get it. They called it Book of Boba and everything, and it was for the most part about Book of Boba, but it's also like, it really wasn't about Book of Boba, and I feel like it's a slap in the face to the Boba fans who were, again, yes, I get it. There's the expectations versus realities, and what you think in your head is what it's supposed to be versus what it really is. But I just feel like I stand by this hill that I strongly believe this was not what they originally intended, and they just had to keep making adjustments to make, like, maybe they were doing it and then they're like, oh, we need to add in the Mando. Okay, well, let's just dedicate a whole episode to this, or we need to do this, we need to give this, because, you know, they have those key focal moments to set up everything, and I get that, but I don't feel like there's something missing. I don't know what it is, but there is definitely something missing here.
Well, I think they were. This is like I said, this is another stop in the roadmap, because then it frees them up for Mandalorian season 3 to do other things.
Do you think they went in with the mindset knowing that this was going to be as, I don't want to say as subpar or mediocre as it was, but do you think they went in with like low expectations?
I don't know about that, but I think what I think is that they were trying. they're trying to establish points they were trying to too hard to establish story points. And they used the backdrop of Boba Fett to do it when they really should have, the whole 2 episodes, the last 3 episodes with Din Djarin in them, with the Mandalorian in them, it seems like they just kind of, I don't want to say cobbled it together, but there are 2 disparate stories happening at the same time. There's the Boba Fett story, and then there's the Din Djarin story happening simultaneously, and they had to get them together.
So what if they made this? What if they had done this? Let's rewrite this in our logic. If they had made this a Mandalorian show, and instead of doing, only 2 episodes of Mandalorian, they did 2 episodes of Mando before the episodes of Boba, and they did, let's say, only 2 episodes of Boba setting up how he got out and him trying to take over the town.
Well, I think they had to. I think,
or a mix of the both, like it's kind of went back and forth.
It could be, but I also think that they treated this as if it were the Mandalorian season 2.5. And they also, because Boba Fett just shows up out of nowhere in the Mandalorian, they had to explain how he got out of the Sarlacc.
Yes.
And all of that. And I don't know that it's necessarily bad. I don't know that what they wrote is necessarily, I don't think it was intended to be subpar. But I think that it was just very uneven from a narrative standpoint, and just from the way it was brought in and the way it was executed on screen. The series, I don't think, ever really found a footing of its own. It didn't have its own story, because the second Din Djarin shows up and the second that Baby Yoda shows up, they just hijack the show.
Oh, absolutely so.
And if they had called it The Mandalorian season 2.5, everybody's happy.
Do you think this show is, now that all the episodes are out, do you think if we were to go back and watch it right now and watch it in a sense of binge watching it, would the quality of the show be better in one continual, I say this, 7-hour show, 7-hour sit? Do you think it would be of better quality because we have the whole storyline?
I think that's kind of how we have to approach everything that Star Wars is doing through Disney Plus. I think it all has to be approached as if it were a 3.5-hour movie or whatever the runtime is. And that starts with The Mandalorian in season 1 and season 2. I think it's also going to go on with the Andor and the Obi-Wan series and all of that. Because it is so serialized. It's not like Star Trek or even Rebels, because like Star Trek or Clone Wars or Rebels, because each of the episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels was a 22-minute cartoon that was just on, once a week on Cartoon Network or on Disney XD. So they could have a one-off episode that didn't relate to anything else until you saw it retroactively 2 seasons down the road. But with this show, you really have to watch it all together, just like you have to watch Hawkeye or WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
You don't have to watch those in continual. It got you. See, I'll totally disagree with you on that one, because WandaVision had me wanting for the next episode. It had me excited because it had me, and it had us talking about it.
It did week to week, but still, WandaVision is still, 6 hours of content.
It's true.
And each episode, while entertaining on its own, the series is greater than the sum of its parts.
But that's the problem. That was the problem with Book of Boba. It left me wanting, but not in a good way. Okay. It left me confused and frustrated and slightly disappointed, but trying to go, no, I know there's going to be a payoff at the end. And the
there really
payoff was a Rancor.
Right.
Like,
And there really wasn't the payoff there, because he's, from the sounds of it, it looks like Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are going to leave Tatooine. So then what the hell did you just spend 7 episodes doing?
yeah,
So then again, why does Boba Fett want to be, that's to me, that's the overarching question, which is never answered. Why does Boba Fett want to take over for Jabba? Because he
like,
obviously doesn't want to be a crime lord, right? Because he's not ruthless. He's not trying to extort money out of people, which is what mafias do, essentially, right?
like I first I thought, I was like, okay, he's doing this to give the land back to the Tusken Raiders. And then when they're all blown off, I'm like, okay, he's trying to get revenge. And then he gets his revenge. And then it's like, I what's going now? You know?
Right. Well, it's Dread Pirate Roberts at the end of The Princess Bride. You know, I've been in the revenge business so long, I don't know what to do. Right.
It's true. Yeah.
Right. And so Wesley leaves Inigo Montoya as the new Dread Pirate Roberts, just as Boba Fett is going to leave Cobb Vanth as the new sheriff in Mos Espa.
What I've learned from this in all Star Wars is just to avoid Tatooine. If you avoid Tatooine, you avoid a lot of problems in the Star Wars universe. I mean, and Alderaan, you know.
Right, but we're not avoiding Tatooine, because Kenobi's going back there.
Yeah, we really like that desert planet for some freaking reason.
Because it's one people know.
Yeah, I know.
And you know, could they have used Jakku? They could have, and then, or any number of other desert planets or whatever.
Yeah, no, I know,
but yeah, it's, I don't know. I think uneven is the best word that I can come up with for Book of Boba Fett.
I respect that.
And I think that, I don't know that it's necessarily a deficiency in the show itself. Well, it is a deficiency in the show, but I don't know what they could do otherwise, and still incorporate the plot points that I think they were trying to get to.
I will say this though, Ahsoka's Rosario Dawson's character Ahsoka looked a lot better in this episode,
okay,
than it did. Like, I feel like they were able to fix some things about how her character design looked. I very much enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the CGI they did for Luke in this one a lot better. I think they did, but I'd heard they got a guy off of YouTube. Like, he said, "Hey, I can do this a little bit better," and they're like, "You're right, you're hired."
Right. Somebody took the scene at the Luke sequence out of The Mandalorian, and he redid it with deep fakes, and I think they got that same guy. You know, I'm kind of okay with the de-aging CGI. I mean, you know, it's not Mark Hamill.
Yes.
But I mean, what's your other option? Your other option is to get another actor to play the part. And it looks like Star Wars is not going that route, because they didn't go that route with General Leia in Rise of Skywalker.
One final complaint. Can we get Grogu some damn pants? I'm tired of seeing him walking around in that potato sack and him looking so awkward when he walks around.
Oh, he's got his mithril chainmail now, so sure,
yes, give him some pants, because I'm tired of the he looks so cheesy when he walks, because they do that like fake weird hoppy thing, puppeteering thing, and I'm like, come on, let me just see some feet. I don't want to see the potato sack. It looks terrible.
I think that's great.
I hate it so bad.
It goes back to Yoda being a puppet.
I know, but then at least make it like an actual, I don't know, like cowl tunic thing. Like, it looks, I know, but I love that. I love baby Grogu. He's adorable, but the weird potato sack curling around because they don't want to show you the fake feet that aren't really there. It just irks me so bad.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay. Of all
minor complaint, but that's my thing.
Complain about. I mean, that's
I know. Of all the things, give him some damn pants. Like I said, but I agree, and I love that we're both kind of on the same page here with this. I'll also say this: they can't all be zingers. You know, not everything is going to be immaculate. Not everything is going to be Star Wars Rebels or Clone Wars or The Mandalorian. There's going to be stuff that's just and if that's it, hey, all right, let's move forward and see where this progresses, because it did leave a lot of open windows for us to go look in and see what's coming out, coming our way.
Well, there were also a lot of episodes, not a whole lot, but there were some episodes of Rebels and the Clone Wars and Resistance that weren't good.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, just as there are episodes of Star Trek that are not good, but then there are some episodes of Star Trek which are fantastic, and same thing with Star Wars. And I talked about this before. Star Wars is a salad bar, and you leave what you don't like behind. And to me, I think my biggest issue with a lot of this is it seemed like they were hitting plot points. They were trying to get the plot points ahead of, what individually was happening in this show.
Yeah.
And that's what the side effect of that is. We may have to wait for a series or two, which could be a couple of years, before some things might pay off down the road, and maybe they won't. Who knows? So, but we'll see.
And until then, we have a bunch of exciting things coming out. While this is now over, and we have to wait till May 4th, which is the next
May 25th.
Is it May 25th? What are they doing on May the 4th then? They're doing something on May. Something's coming out May 4th. And it's going to drive me crazy now, because I know something. I'm 100% something.
I mean, they'll probably do something for
there's some show or that is coming out on May the 4th.
Oh, I don't know, but the schedule is for the Obi-Wan Kenobi will be on Disney Plus on May 25th, which is a Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Well, till then, we also have, FX is releasing Alien, the series. I'm excited about that. There's going to be plenty to fill our plates till then. We've got so many different just like nerdy things coming out. The new Batman is coming out with Robert Pattinson, and I'm excited. I want to see what he does, because he can't do any worse than Val Kilmer or George Clooney. So
Well, but at least Val Kilmer and George Clooney understood the assignment.
What was the assignment that he understood? Are we talking about the one where George Clooney had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it as Mr. Freeze? Oh my God.
Those were the Batman movies that didn't take themselves seriously, and they knew it was cheesy.
No. Adam West didn't take himself seriously as Batman. Sure. George Clooney took it seriously.
Well, George Clooney was also doing it for the check, because that's how George Clooney works. The Lord of the Rings show is coming out in September.
True. Yes.
On Amazon.
And my Jurassic Park movies come out.
Jurassic Park movie.
I'm happy.
So you're right. There is a lot of things coming up that we can, use to bide our time. I don't know that a release date for the Andor series has come out yet. But yeah, like I said, I would probably give it a 5 or 5.5 out of 10. Would be my overall score. But
I'm in the same boat. Like I said, I'm generous with a 6, because we did get 2 pretty boss episodes with The Mandalorian. That's all I gotta say. Right. And see some Jedi training, which was kind of neat.
Right. Well, and if they had, like I said, if they had billed it as The Mandalorian season 2.5 featuring Boba Fett, I think everybody's fine with it.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. Yeah, they gave us a slap in the face. However, it is what it is.
I'm not even gonna say it's a slap in the face. It's just,
it's a slap in Boba's face in my mind. Like it could have been more Boba, or definitely Mando 2.5.
Right. Well, they had a lot of different ways they could go, but when they introduced Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, they tied the two characters together, and I think the payoff is going to involve so you have the 4 different Mandalorian factions. Okay, so the main Mandalorian characters are Din Djarin, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, and the Armorer. Okay, so those are the four that
You're
are
not
going
going to count the guy who's like family made.
Paz Vizsla.
Yeah.
But Paz Vizsla and the Armor are, to me, are
Okay, fair enough.
They're the same faction.
Okay.
Just as Bo-Katan and the former Night Owls, you know, the Casca Reeves and Axe Woves and her people are another faction, but they're in the same camp. The wild cards are Din Djarin, who has the Darksaber, and Boba Fett. So the question is, does the interplay between those characters come together? How's that going to pay off?
Sabine.
Right. Well, you're right. Sabine is out there, but we haven't seen Sabine.
Exactly.
And
I bet she comes in with Ahsoka. I bet you money she comes in with Ahsoka's show.
Ahsoka is having her own show. Yes, I think Sabine and Ahsoka are looking for Ezra.
Yes.
And Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's how that's going to go. So then the question is, how does that tie back into The Mandalorian? And I think I mentioned this before, that they have the potential for a lot of crossover between all of the shows that are coming out in this era, whether it's Rangers of the New Republic, which, however, that's going to shake out now that
did they
Cara
hire
Dune
her back?
I don't know. I
keep hearing both ways. Like, she is fired, and I keep hearing that no, they suddenly brought her back.
Who knows? I mean, it could be same character, different actress. It could be, you know, new character altogether. You know, but they had Carson Teva, the X-wing pilot. He shows up again. Well, whether that's just
I love that as a
cameo.
Yeah, I love that cheesy ass like police scene and everything, and he just that's one of those saving moments. But again, it was a Mandalorian moment.
Yeah. Do you want to go back and fill out paperwork on this? No. Okay. You know, but so I there is a bigger picture, and I think there's a whiteboard that shows how all that's going to work out. You know, and that's just kind of what I think we as fans just have to trust, that it ultimately, when all of this is over, that the whiteboard in Dave Filoni's basement, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. And even if he doesn't really know what he's doing, or even if it's a story that's not what people want, it's still better than the sequel trilogy, because Dave Filoni has a plan.
That's absolutely true. I think that is a perfect spot for us to wrap up too. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. As always, please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you're listening to podcasts. And if you are listening to us on Apple, please remember to rate and review. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, so please like and follow us at DNA Pod, and on Twitter at NerdDNA Pod, or on our webpage, nerddnapod.com. I am Steven, and I was joined with David, and this was our, I want to say, like, conscientious review of gratuitous review of Book of Boba. Thank you.